what began in prayer can only be prosecuted and perfected in prayer. If prayer brought you this far, then only prayer can take you further.
When God's servant told me about it, well, it was beautiful at the surface.
Remember when we started capturing and live streaming, we had just an iPhone to work with, but God came through for us so much so that we have professional equipment at the moment.
And then I felt privileged, to be part of the work, but only until it began did I know that I'm not sure if I was really ready, if I processed everything, deeply.
Since joining Anakazo Ministries, my life has taken a different turn.
What excites me most about Anakazo Ministries' future is the heart that we have for people.
I was in Port Harcourt, and we just started Penel Fire conferences around the nation. We came to Abuja for PFC Abuja 2021 on the 1st of October, when the Lord suddenly spoke through me and said, this is an inaugural service, and a coronation service. I thought that was all, but when I returned back to Port Harcourt, the burden wouldn't leave me. I kept praying and trusting God, and the Lord told me that it was time for us to start the church work, which of course He had spoken to me earlier before. It was a lot demanding because I thought we were going to start the church work in Port Harcourt. I was in Port Harcourt, I knew people, I had relationships. I also understood the ministerial terrain of Port Harcourt, but I knew nothing about how we were going to do church ministry in Abuja. But if God says go, we will have to go. So we began planning, and that was how we came here.
So I remember having to go to the road, because the distance of where we were using at the time was very far. So we had to go to the road. Some persons that had vehicles will have to go to the road, pick people, and then bring, to the venue of the church. I remembered also how all we had was just a keyboard, and not all of the keys were working. And I remember how a brother provided us with a keyboard stand. And those were amazing moments of worship and prayer. And it was during one of those seasons that the theme song of Anakazo Ministries, "To the Nations We Will Go, to the Ends of the Earth Will Sound the Alarm," was received by God's servant, Pastor Emmanuel Stephen.
I have seen immense and rapid growth over the last 2 years. I remember that we started with what we had at the time. It was not too much gadgets and all. But right now, as I speak to you, I can say that we've been able to get a lot of gadgets, better mics, better instruments to use. And this has further equipped the worship team to do better. The experience has grown far beyond where we started. It's been a mind-blowing growth so far.
God has been faithful through it all. So I remember our humble beginnings when we had our iPhone. We come to service, we use the iPhone to capture our pictures, and then we rush back to use the same iPhone to record our videos and all. And God was just consistent. How we transited from using iPhone to getting professional cameras can only be God. God came through for us, and every worship experience have been beautiful.
In the last 2 years, we've had very, very demanding and challenging moments. At some point, I even asked myself, Lord, I know you asked me to do this. How am I going to be able to continue? One of the incidents was when we went out to evangelism, and then some people held 2 of our brothers hostage and decided that we're going to kill them and burn them alive. They were framed. But thank God for divine intervention. Another striking challenge we had, and God showed me mercy, was when we were trusting God for the venue of the church. We had searched everywhere within the city, we had prayed, and then of course we couldn't even afford the places, but God spoke to me that the church was going to be located, at least the foundational days, the starting of the church will begin in the heart of the city. So I couldn't go to anywhere else. I kept searching within the heart of the city and then trusting God for that. First, the capacity, the halls that we were seeing were too big for us. Some of them were also too expensive. We couldn't afford them. But God came through. God began to put it in the hearts of people who didn't even know that we were already in town or we were going to start a church work. They would reach out and say that God was leading them to give to us. And today we are here. It's been 2 years of provision, and I cannot but say that God is reliable.
At the beginning, it would seem that who are these people? Just some bunch of young people. You especially particularly myself, you are still following this man, you know, things like that. And I remembered, I think somebody, a sister, was even told to change church, that you won't find husband there. You know, we're just few persons, and you are joining these people, you are of marriageable age, you are supposed to be in your husband's house. Why not join one big church somewhere, or just be part of a place where a brother can find you and then you'll be married? But God has been so faithful. We've recorded marriages in church. In fact, the first of which, just I think exactly 2 months or so after our inaugural service, you know, we had a wedding in church, and we've recorded several other weddings after that time.
We've been following God's servant, Pastor Emmanuel Stephen, for a while, and when we got to know that he was starting a church here in Abuja, and since I was based here in Abuja then, without when we knew in our spirit that this was our church. And since in the inaugural service, we've been members of the ministry, and we joined fully as a family immediately after our wedding.
Nakazo Ministries has been a blessing. If I would say what it is about the church that has fascinated me and has continued to fascinate me, it is the literal, feelable, tangible presence of the Lord here, the presence of the Holy Spirit. Right from the beginning of every service, it's always a statement, it's always an absolute blessing.
I remember a few weeks into pregnancy, my wife was diagnosed of pelvic inflammatory disease. I remember I was going to pastor's office that day with that report. He heard the report, prayed for us, and cancelled it. The next week we went to do the test again. PID was nowhere to be found, and God kept us. God kept the pregnancy, and Memshak showed up.
One way this church has impacted my life is that it gave me an opportunity to grow regardless of my age. I joined this ministry when I was 22, going to 23 years, and I was made the leader of the follow-up ministry.
Since joining Nakazo Ministries, my life has taken a different turn. I'm more committed in the things of God, which has also affected other areas of my life, in the sense of discipline, commitment, not just to church alone now, commitment to work, commitment to building quality relationships.
I saw, people I look up to, and I was called to work with them in, the leadership house. I was called to lead people who, of course, a number of them were older than I am, and it was a huge and a big deal to me. It still is, but I saw that I was given that room to grow. I was given the room to grow, and I can see that that privilege not just helped me personally in the church, it also helped me in other areas of my life, in my career, in other leadership roles I held in other places. And I'm really grateful to Nakazo Ministries for that, because I see this church as a place where they see you beyond your current level.
The pastoral care doesn't just stop with the pastor, it extends to even the members. On my birthday, I received numerous calls. Never had a birthday like that all my life, where I had people calling from all angles. It was amazing.
I see Nakazo Ministries making a lot of progress. I see God spreading the gospel through us. And how far do I see the church? As far as my eyes can see. And I tell you, my eyes, I see all race, I see all tongues, I see all tribes, I see all men. I do not see any part of the world. I do not see any tribe, any nation, any country, any ethnic group that is not responsive to the gospel of Jesus through Nakazo Ministries.